Let's have a game, a little lovely game of Roman ping pong, like two civilized senators. Roman ping. You're supposed to say Roman pong.
What's up, everybody? It's Claudio here, and today is my first cyclocross race ever. For those of you who don't know, I've been racing road for about 2 years. I've been getting dropped left and right. Finally, I got to the point where I'm not getting dropped. Hanging in there, I'm having a good time. And so now I've decided during this off season to tackle cyclocross. Really excited, really nervous. Cold, it's like 36 degrees, 8 in the morning. I'm up at Falmouth, Massachusetts, which is right near Cape Cod, and I'm here at the really rad festival of cyclocross. Obviously I'm doing the category 4 or 5, I'm in 5, and it's a 40-minute race. I haven't checked out the course. Really nervous about the bike handling skills required, which I have very little of. I've only done maybe a few cyclocross training sessions in New York with some community groups. So I know some basic things like getting off the bike, hopping back on, going over hurdles, but I mean, I have no instincts, and it's gonna play a big role in how I do. My fitness is okay. I've been doing trainer road for the past 6 weeks during this between the road season and right now, and it's been going well. I did the cyclocross plan, so my fitness is going to be okay. It's all bike handling skills, which I have none of, so I'm nervous about that, but hey, let's just get out there and do this. All right, let's take a look at my bike setup, the Cannondale Super X 2019 model. It's running a single speed in the front. In the back, it's got a big 1142 cassette. Loving that. This is the SE model. It has a racing geometry, but it also has a little bit more flex towards the endurance. I'm running the Donnelly PDX 33mm tires, and I had a leaky front tire, so I needed to pump that up to like 34, 35 for the first day, and ended up sealing fine. And the second day, I ran 30 PSI on both front and back. I'm gonna experiment with lower PSI, that's for sure, but really loving this bike. Really happy with the color, super excited about it. So all in all, this race was really well produced. Had a bunch of space for the teams, amazing vendors. I wish they had gluten-free pizza. Ton of cool bikes to take a look at from other riders, some barbecue, even a beer garden. And if you guys don't know how this works, when they line you up, they do it based on your ranking and your when you signed up. So obviously I'm ranked 0. I have nothing, no experience. I was way in the back, but I signed up a little bit earlier. So there were still like a few rows of people behind me. So I wasn't all the way in the back, but I'm sure I was in the last 10%. All right, so here we are. There are 93 people in this 4-5 race. I still had plenty of people behind me, but there were a lot of guys here. And I noticed right away it wasn't a sprint like it is in the front, but you know, some people are really trying to make up spots. I feel good about this start. I moved up like at least 8 places in the straightaway without killing myself or other people. So I'm just feeling it out. This is my first race ever, and I have like no idea what to expect in cyclocross. So you can see some aggressive riders from the back are moving up quickly. Generally speaking, the back is full of beginners like me, so they're passive. You know, they don't have their elbows sticking out. And if you have any bit of racing edge or attitude, if you want to move up, you can pretty easily, at least up to the top like 30%. Then I don't know what it's like up there. The vibe is awesome here. You know, there's people like yelling, you know, having a good time. It's a very different vibe than crit racing. I mean, here's like, at least at this race, it was kind of like this hippie vibe. At least more of that, more guys with beards. Here we're coming up on a hurdle. I really like this whole hurdling thing because it's so absurd. It's like, why are we picking up our bikes and jumping over this stuff? And it's so ridiculous. That's what makes it fun for me, because it just doesn't make sense. And as you'll see, also like the sand pit. Like, what is that? Why are we doing that? And that's what makes it cool and fun. The vibe, again, is at least in the towards the back, it's really laid back, and just the community is they just want to have a good time. It's not as cutthroat. It doesn't feel like it from crit racing and circuit races. So here's the sand pit. I get off the bike and I carry it this time. Sometimes I roll it through, but I didn't. I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to ride it. You need to really spin at like above 90 RPMs and really put some power down to make it. So this is the back of the race. People are just trying to move up and find a rhythm. But the first lap is just chaos like this. People trying to find lines. I did pre-ride the course, so I knew that that was a line. I didn't take that line correctly because the guy next to me took it. But you have an idea of where to go and you're figuring it out, but with all these riders, you can't always take the best line. So that's exciting, and you gotta improvise in the moment. So we have these kind of straightaways where you can make up some time, a little bit of mud. It was pretty dry. That was it. That was the only patch of mud that was out there. And I think we got lucky, but mud is supposed to be fun, so I hear. But it was not a lot of sliding around. Here, I stay on my bike. I do a good job, and I spin it out. So I made up a few positions there. Let's see. There's all these efforts are very different than crit racing. We're going like 10 miles an hour, and there's a lot of shifting of gears. Here, I was not in the right gear. You gotta anticipate that stuff. I think you really gotta plan that out during your pre-ride. On these straightaways, I try to get a little bit of speed, but here I'm pretty sure I don't know if I braked, but I'm still not confident on the tires. I don't know the limits of my tires and the tire pressure and my bike, so I'm not going like full gas through these turns. Although one turn I did kind of slip out. I did find that limit at some point. My heart rate is 174. For you that don't know me, here are my stats really quick. So you see what I'm working with. Age 36, about 154 pounds. FTP is around 240. And my max heart rate is somewhere under 190. Anything above 170 is my threshold. And I start to hurt at around 175. All right, 170 is a good effort. Like I'm not in any way recovering at 170. I'm like really pushing it. So here I'm kind of forced on the outside. And again, I don't really know what I'm doing. I mean, I for sure don't know what I'm doing. And I remember the first lap was really hard for me. Like I went too hard, and I didn't have anything left. Like I remember towards the end, I just didn't have, like I could barely do 200 watts. Like I was in the 150s, and already I'm like a little bit, wasted. So I'm just trying to keep up. I'm trying to just not lose too many positions. So I'm already in the back, but you know, there's strong riders in the back as well. And we do have 5 laps of this, right? It's like a 40-minute. I ended up doing like 48 minutes. Okay, we're coming up on a technical section here, which I don't think I ever yeah, I got off. Did I get off here? Yeah, I got off in like the worst way. Like I was not efficient at all. And here I stayed off and I ran my bike because this little off-camber section, and there I hopped back on. Maybe I should have run it all the way to the top because this was also kind of lame of me. Now, you're just figuring stuff like that out. I mean, you do that in the practice runs, but you really need to like practice it at least 10 times to kind of get an idea of what you're gonna do and get some muscle memory, sort of. I have no technique, no instincts here. So my heart rate is high. I'm up there, and I'm hurting already the first lap. Let's see. So here, so I've been doing trainer road workouts, a cyclocross plan. They actually have a cyclocross plan. And so here's an example of one of the workouts. They have all these names for them. And so you get this warm up, and then I do 30 seconds at 400 watts, which is like 180% of my FTP. And then it's supposed to be like a race simulation. And then you do 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off. The on efforts for me were about 278 watts. That's like 125%. And the off are kind of recovery, around 195. Not full recovery. Actually, that's endurance. So anyways, those are the kind of workouts that I've been doing. They've got a whole ton of them. And they work. I mean, I didn't have like the fitness that I wanted, but I felt like my fitness was not an issue. It was my technique. I just didn't have any of that. I'm just doing like too many surges when I don't need to, and I just get wasted really fast. Another big thing that I noticed after the first lap, that upper body strength is so important in cyclocross. I do a lot of it. I do a lot of core. Core is big. Like, you gotta work on your core. My core after the first 2 laps was like a wet noodle. I mean, I was just totally blown out. And a lot of it is just like all these little bumps. You absorb them and they really wear you down. My arms, I do a lot of things. I'm coming from a CrossFit background. I thought I had like good upper body, but this will really tear you down. So I'm definitely doing more core and upper body. It's so important for this. And it's so important also to stay loose. I'm pretty sure I was tensing up a lot. So that's the first lap. Here in the second lap, I'm going to show you the hurdles. I was into them. But when you get off the bike and you're running, it really like takes a lot. It spikes your heart rate. Let's see what I do on this sand pit. Do I ride it? Okay. I try to ride it. And I only get so far. You gotta take some speed in there if you want any chance of doing well. And so, I'm like in these little groups, sort of, and there's people that I'm trying to catch up to. And what's really cool is that you almost always have somebody that you can target and try to pass. But the funny thing is that there's always kind of somebody who's targeting you. And you hear them, and it's kind of annoying. They're like right behind you for a while, and you're like, shit, I gotta hammer it. This guy can't pass me. And it's a little annoying, and but it keeps you motivated, right? Having somebody just breathing down your neck. So here I was able to really punch through these. I was happy about that. But now we are, I don't know what lap this is. This is probably the middle of the race. I'm getting tired. This is like when my core is all blown out, upper body. I noticed through some of the photos that I'm not really like in race position. I'm a little too upright. I gotta get used to that. I'm just not used to riding more aero on this bike. And yeah, you can hear that's the final bell lap. So, you know, sometimes you just get yourself in this like sort of no man's land where not that many people are around you and you're trying to move up, but you don't know what to do, you don't know what kind of effort to do. And that's it. It's the end of that race. I finished 78 out of 93. I'll take that. That's top 84%. Happy about my first race. All right, just finished my first race ever in cyclocross. Wow, very different from road racing. I finished, I don't know what place. There are definitely people behind me, but man, about like 30 minutes in, my upper body started to ache. My core was like a wet noodle. So you definitely need all this upper body strength. And then for the technical sections, you just need a lot of experience, know how to hop off efficiently, know which sections to ride and which ones to carry your bike. I carried my bike through the sand pit every single time. It just seemed like the best way. And as far as the off-camber stuff, that was really sketchy, but I managed to get through it. I did fall off once, just accidentally pulled my front brake and kind of went over the handlebars briefly. But other than that, pretty good race. A lot of fun. Can't wait for tomorrow. All right, day 2. This time we started off with 85 people. I'm still kind of in the back. A pretty easy start, but you know, people are hammering it. Check out this guy. You know, and they made an announcement not to go on the sand during the straightaway because of, you know, potential crashes, but you know, some people didn't listen, but they made up like 30 spots right there. So I have obviously some fatigue in my legs, but I'm more comfortable because I raced the day before. So I'm still trying to move up here. I'm not sure how aggressive I want to be, but I do want to move up. Everybody's got the same vibe, just like having a good time. Everybody's like wishing each other good luck at the start. So it's great. It was a great vibe. I was a lot less nervous this time, and they did change the course. They changed it. They sometimes they do things in reverse, but this time they didn't. They did some of the parts, some of the technical things in reverse, but for the most part, like this section here was the same. And I did get to pre-ride this like several times, so I got a feel for it. Loving the hurdles. It's not so cutthroat in the back. I really want to I want to know what it's like to start a race off where you can actually sprint. Totally different experience. People are going for it. I mean, people are hammering a sprint just to make sure that you go on the first turn, you know, and you get the best line possible. The people at the front, they're not doing this right here. They're not getting off their bike right and going super slow. And they are not getting off their bike in the sand. Here I am, I'm pedaling. I'm trying to pedal through it. Let's see how far I get. Not very far. I should have, on the first lap, you should just make it a default that you're going to push your bike or carry your bike through the sand. It's just faster on the first lap. So learned that. Already at 170 BPM, my threshold. So I gotta really like pace it. It's so easy to go so hard on the first lap. All these efforts. So here is one of the things that they changed, which is cool. You know, this little straightaway here, you can make up a few spots if you hammer it. But so we have this this section here where you got to carry it. That was new, and then it loops around to the technical section with the climb, the up and back. A lot of people got stuck on the first lap here. Let's see what I did. I might have stayed on. Forgot. What did I do? What did I do? I am on. I'm on my bike, but then I got stuck behind these guys. Yeah. So here's that big cassette that I have on my bike, the 42. I'm like right on that, all the way to the easiest gear, and it's just so convenient. You can ride up anything. I love it. So this bike, the SE model, like I talked about, is it's marketed for cyclocross. Obviously, it's the Super X, but because of all the gravel, the whole thing with gravel, how it's taken off, they want this bike to be also able to do gravel races. So that's why they put a big cassette, and why it comes with the geometry. I'm not sure exactly what about the geometry. Oh, here I take the bottom line, which is faster, but I get stuck. So the geometry of this bike is set up so that it's designed so that you can do more endurance type gravel races. So it has the option, like if you set it up really aero and you slam the stem, you can get like that racing vibe and take advantage of the racing geometry. Or if you want to set it up a little bit more upright, you can do more endurance gravel events. You got the big cassette in the back. It's more versatile, and the tires that it came with were like 38s, more gravel thread. So anyways, that's the deal with the SE Super X model. I'm loving it. A really versatile bike. Cyclocross, gravel. I don't want to get a gravel bike just to do a few gravel races next year. So that's why I chose this model. And you can always do gravel events with a cross bike. It's no big deal. And just set it up appropriately, change the tires, and you're good to go. So we're here, this section, trying to keep the speed down that, and try to make sure that you don't slip out. That was really important, that whole section. It was, I remember looking down, so my Garmin, the way that I set it up, it's very simple for cyclocross. It's got on the top field, the timer, the middle field is my heart rate, and the bottom field is power. Now power, I don't care about when I'm riding, even in crits, unless I get dropped and I say, okay, I want to do like an effort of like 210, just to do like some kind of tempo effort for the rest of the race. But here it's like it doesn't matter. I show it because it's just interesting, the data, to see how, like, to look back and see how much I spike, and and just to record data. But I'm not looking down at my watts. I'm looking down at my heart rate a lot. And I'm trying to manage my efforts. And then the timer is obviously, the timer. But we get 40 minutes, but it's 5 laps, so I ended up going 46 minutes, 47, 8 minutes. And this race, the second day, I did not get lapped. The first race, I got lapped. So I improved. I actually ended up 60th out of 85 on the second day. So that put me in the top 70%. better than the first day. Even though I didn't feel like I was going harder. At some point I felt like I was, I couldn't keep my heart rate up in the threshold. I remember my legs were giving out with the fatigue from the from the first race. I was feeling it. And so I couldn't really push my heart rate as high as I wanted to. Anyway, so that's the Garmin situation. I mostly have it so that my heart rate is really nice and big, and I can try to pace myself. I'm curious to hear what other people do in cyclocross. Any of the people that are into data. You don't really need, in cyclocross, you don't need power meters or any of that stuff. It's less important. It's more about the technique and more about just racing your bike. And you can go by feel a lot. But I'm into data. Obviously, as you can see, all the stuff I have on the screen. I just think it's interesting. Definitely looking back at it, it's interesting. Not so much during the race. You're just racing. So we have these straightaways. I'm trying to push a little bit of watts, but my legs are fatigued here. And they got the pit. Forgot to tell you about the pit. The pit, I didn't have a second bike and I didn't have any tires, so I didn't use the pit, but they had a mechanic there and he helped me out for my leaky tire. He made it seal. So that was cool. And that was before the race. I didn't go during the race into the pit. I didn't have any mechanicals or anything. So that's the first lap of the second day. Going over these hurdles. I did do some running. I used to train triathlon, but then I stopped training triathlon in the summer. So I have some running discipline, and I got back on the treadmill doing some inclined intervals. 5 minutes at 0%, 5 minutes at 2%, 5 minutes at 4%, and trying to keep my heart rate at the same spot to just get used to the running. It does shock you if you're not a runner and if you don't train it. Well, here I did a good job staying on my bike. It does shock you, so do some kind of running here and there. It doesn't have to be like a whole ton, but just like once or twice a week to get your muscles prepared and used to that. There I took that bottom line. It worked out. If you can not brake, you can get some speed on that line. I wonder if they keep the same course. Oh, this guy, I think he just had a problem unclipping. He went down, but he got up. Good job. So I wonder if they keep the courses the same from year to year. Like day one is the same course for the next year. I know they change it from day one to day two, but I wonder if they, what they do from year to year. So then I'm just like in this no man's land. I don't know what's happening or who's around me, but I finish and had a good time. Really good time at the really rad festival of cyclocross up in Falmouth, Massachusetts. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're not already subscribed. I put a lot of time into these videos, and I love all the feedback, all the comments. Let me know what you think of cyclocross, any tips. I know this is a new thing, and I'd love to hear from you. So, thanks again, and I'll see you out there. I have a few more races this season, and I'm definitely going to put them up. So, peace.